Hey gang, KR King here, helping you homebrew your own D&D campaign. So today I'm going to talk about how you can create your own custom assets for the Wonderdraft software package. I'm going to show you how to take some clip art that's available online for free, bring it into Photoshop and the GIMP software package, which is free, and make some modifications such that you can bring it into Wonderdraft and then either have it a specific color, have it react to the color around it, or some specialized color. It's a similar thing in terms of what you're doing when you're bringing in custom assets by a third-party vendor, but this time you're actually making them yourselves and modifying them and creating them, and you don't have to be an artist to do this. All right, so I always like to go into the software full screen, so here we go to create our own custom assets. So I'm going to start off with a quick review of the file structure you need to use to bring in the custom assets you make. It's the same thing when you buy a commercial custom asset from another artist. You must put it in the right directory. And in the preferences on in the Wonderdraft, you'll see this assets and themes directory. And if you copy that, Control C, and you just like this, you'll see here assets, and that's where you want to do it. And here is the example. Where did I get that from? Well, they provide that. If you go into I bought this on Humble Bundle, sorry. If I go into my purchases and I look at Wonderdraft, they have right here this Wonderdraft custom assets, and that brings in, when I downloaded it, the assets, and it gave you the right file structure. Fonts, that's obviously fonts for labels and things. Sprites is what we're going to use. Textures is for ground textures and whatnot. Sprites, we go mountains, symbols, and trees. You put it into symbols. And here is the one I did in the last example, Radiocore Advanced Cliffs. Here are the sample symbols they give you. So I'm going to create a directory here, a new file, and I'm going to call this video_examples. I use underscore because that's what all the files in the samples do. So this is where I'm going to put the files that I find. All right, so I'm not an artist, so I'm going to have to use existing transparent PNG files. Very important that you use those, and I'll show you the problem if you try to take in JPEGs or PNGs that aren't transparent. So I'm just going to search. Let's say I want to bring in some trees. So trees, transparent, PNG, free. All right, and you get these images. Okay, and you see all these different tree images that it's possible to use. So here's an example of a tree. You see these checks here on the background. That's usually what you'll see with PNG, the transparency, but not always. Sometimes you get fooled on these. So I'm going to save this image, and I'm going to save this to this video examples directory. I may have to make some changes to it, but I'm going to save it here and work from here. So I'm going to call it tree example, and I'll use underscore since that's what they use. 1. Save. All right. And I go to, here it is. Now let's see, how do you know whether or not this is truly a transparent file? What you can do, you just start up your Wonderdraft, new file, go to my symbols, go to down here, video examples, it's right, and there it is. I bring it over, and there you go, right? And I can use the mouse to make that bigger or smaller. So that is a transparent file. Now you don't just have to search for just images. There are actually sites where you can get images. So one of the things is called clip art. So if I say free clip art, and there's a whole host of websites that offer this. Again, commercial free as long as you're not using it to make money, but for your own purposes. Let's look at this one, open clip art. So you search through this, we'll do the same thing, trees. And here you have a variety of images. When you save these, let's look for one that's good here. 31 pages of these. This has got a little too much detail. Let's see, maybe Let's try this one. Okay, so I'm going to say save image, and I'm going to go to my video thing. I'll say, call that. Notice it's a PNG file down here, palm tree. Okay, so now I've saved that. Bring up my Wonderdraft again. All right, bring up a new file. And if I go to my symbols, there it is. My new, there's the old one, and there's the new one. And as you can see, and you can scale it with your mouse key, you've got a palm tree. All right, so back in here, obviously you've got 977 clip art for trees in this site alone. Let's say we say castle. That's typical. And you get a host of these. Let's copy this one in. Back in our thing, we'll call this Castle 1. All right. And once again, we go into our, notice they're not here right now, Castle 1 in my video examples, because I have to start again. Okay, new file. Go to my symbols. And now this castle is here. Now, there's an interesting feature about this symbol. When I move it around, notice too that you see the background in these areas here. That's because this is a true line drawing. And what that means is you're not going to be able to draw on this unless you modify it. And modifying the assets that you bring in yourself is part of creating custom assets yourself. But you have to have some kind of image manipulator. I'm going to show some examples in Photoshop, which I use for most of the time, and also the GIMP software, which is a free modifying program. But first, I'm going to get another file, a JPEG file, to show how these software packages can be changed that into a transparent PNG file. Now, this is the same page that I was searching for earlier. And here's a file. And even though it does say tree clip art free, when you go to right-click it, you'll see that it is a JPEG down here. Now, I'm going to use this for this example because let's just say you did want to use a JPEG. The problem is that white all around the tree is going to be there, that square, which is not what you want. So I'll say tree underscore JPEG, and I'll save it to our same subdirectory, video examples. Notice there's no other JPEGs in there. I will save that. Now I have in my symbols folder, I have these 4 images, one JPEG, this PNG, the palm tree, and this castle. And each of these can demonstrate a different aspect of how you can modify these assets that you found out on the internet in terms of making them colors or outlines or taking the colors in from the land. So let's start with this JPEG file. If we open this up with Photoshop, it's relatively easy. It's relatively easy to just export it as a PNG. And I can just say tree JPEG PNG. The problem is when I go into my Wonderdraft, start a new file, go to my symbols, notice it's got the white border around. This is no good. We have to get rid of it. We have to make it into a transparency. How do we do that? Well, this is the thing about Photoshop. It has this quick selection tool, and this allows me to, it'll select a color, sees that white, it says, oh, okay, and I can just go around, and I can even zoom up like this, make my selection circle much smaller, and I can go around and look if there's any areas, if I really want to get tight in here, like over here, something like that, really small down to 1 pixel, right? Whatever I want. But that's pretty quick. Now the thing about this is it's selecting what you want to keep. I want to inverse this. I want to keep this. Right, now you see the checkerboards. Now it's ready to be exported as a PNG. And in fact, I'm just going to overwrite that. Sure you want to do that? Yes. Now I'm going to go into my Wonderdraft, new file. Go to my symbols. Now that same tree is a transparent PNG. Now I can use it. And the mouse goes like this. Now you can do this in GIMP as well. If I go to this file, my original JPEG, I open that up in the GIMP package. It is possible to do this. There's two different ways to do it, and neither of them are, to me, satisfying. But the GIMP program is free, and the Adobe Photoshop, you have to pay a monthly subscription fee. I usually like just standalone purchase one thing, but since I'm doing so many images all the time, I've made the investment. The one way is the fuzzy select, where you can select this. You make this alpha, add alpha channel. That means it's going to be a transparent background. Hit your delete key. You've got this. Unfortunately, look at the lack of definition here around here. It's just not acceptable to me. So what am I going to do here? What I'm going to do, select none, is to go path. The path tool allows you to pick an area and go around here like so. And the thing about this is, as you can see, to get really the same kind of clarity or detail that I got just from that quick selection in Photoshop takes a little bit of work. I'm just going to do a little area here to show that it is going to be removed like so. I connect this. I make a select from the path. I have this area. Make sure that I have my alpha channel already. When I hit the delete, now I've got the checkerboard. I would have to do this around this entire area here in order to get the same thing I got in Photoshop very quickly. But it is a free package. And if anybody out there does know a better way to create a transparency in the GIMP program, I'd love to hear it. And again, on any example, it's the same kind of thing. Export, you can export as you just change the PNG. It says OK. I already did one here, but oops, that's not what I want to do. So now I do have an opportunity to cancel this. And I'm going to cancel. I don't want to overwrite that. That was lucky. But that's the basic thing. You go to the export as and turn it to a PNG. But make sure you pick another name. All right, next I'm going to go back to this palm tree PNG file. Remember, I just brought that in from the clip art thing and showed how it could just be used right from the internet. But there is a potential issue with scale. So I'm going to open up Wonderdraft, but one of the things I'm going to do, I wasn't doing it in most of this video, some people say you should do this all the time, is to run as administrator. And what this does is, it goes through when you bring up Wonderdraft and sort of realigns everything when you're using custom assets. For these examples, I was just quickly hitting the taskbar and bringing it up. But really, you probably should do that all the time. The reason I'm doing that is that I'm opening an existing file, continent, because I'm going to show you that this symbol that I brought in, this palm tree, is very large. You have a scaling issue. Even if you scale this to its absolute tiniest, and let's say we go over here and we want to put, or have some palm trees on this island, they're as big as these mountains, right? I want to make these smaller. Well, I can do that by scaling this actual PNG file in either Photoshop or GIMP. So we'll just say open Photoshop. I can take the scale, scale that down. Just put it in the center just for, okay. And then quick export, PNG, palm tree, scale. Okay. And now we're in Wonderdraft, which I just opened off the taskbar. I didn't use administrator. We'll see if this works. I go to my continent. Okay. I go to my symbols. And now we have, if you look over here, palm tree and palm tree scaled. Here's the original. See how big that was. Even if I tried to make it small, let's get rid of that one. We'll make it as small as we can. All right, how big it is. Now let's look at our new one, right? Small as it is. And it works better, right? I'm going to say, let's get rid of those. That one. And just put in our new symbols, right? And you can turn those if you want, however you want to do that. So there you have, you've scaled these. I can take this original, open it with GIMP, and do the same thing with the scaling feature. Scale. Again, go to the center and export that. Again, you don't want to overwrite, you want to export it as something else, palm tree scale. There you go. Oh, see it? I don't want to do that. I already have one, palm tree GIMP scale. There you go. All right, so remember how I talked about this Castle One drawing as just being lines, and so therefore you won't be able to have any colors on it or whatever. How can you do this? I know how to do this in Photoshop. I have not figured out how to do this in GIMP because when I bring it in, I see nothing. So if anyone out there knows how to do this. But with this, it's fairly simple. You select everything, inverse your selection, okay, and then you fill it with white. When you fill it with white, white is the thing in a transparent PNG file that will allow you to have it take the background color of a ground color or a custom color in Wonderdraft. Okay, Control D. Now the whole thing is white. Then you select the areas outside that you want to keep. Delete those. Now you have something with white in here that we can use. We're going to say quick export. We'll say Castle One white. Bring up my Wonderdraft. Symbols. Here's Castle One. There's the original, and then here's the white. Okay? Now, how do you determine whether this is going to accept either these custom colors here or the sample color from land? Well, this is where you edit the file that Wonderdraft generates in your example folder. If we go to this folder, here it is. You look at this with Notepad. And here we go. All of the files that we've created in this file are in here. They all say normal. So let's say Castle One white. I am going to change this to sample color. Okay. And I'm going to save that. And I'm going to exit. And just to be certain, I will run as administrator. Probably do that all the time. I just get a little lazy because I like to go from the taskbar. And when I right-click the taskbar, it doesn't allow me to do that. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create some land. And I think I'll go to a different theme so the land is a little more, what's this? There, okay. The land is a little more obvious. Like so. Going to bring in my castle, maybe scale it a little bit. All right. Notice it's taking this background of this land right now. So it's already different. It's not that white color. And I'm going to draw on the land, and I'll pick a extreme color red. Oop, it goes red. It took that color. It's completely red. That's what the sample color does. Let's change that now to the custom colors. And I'm going to say custom colors. Save. Go back in, and as I said, just to make sure, actually no, I'll run it like this and see if it works. Why not? I'm a gambler. Okay, new. I'll go back to that same theme. Create my land, because you got to have that to differentiate. Okay. Symbol. Oh, and look, it's changed. Why? Look at our custom colors up here. If I change these, changes, there's 3 of these, combination thereof, right? And it's changed. Get a little smaller one. Okay. If I do my land, brush, say red again. Nope, doesn't affect it. It's now custom color. So there you go, some sample custom assets that I created, showing you how you can, using the system administrator, go in there and change how the colors look, also change the scale. Hope this is enjoyable. Just, you know what, you got to practice this, play with it. But if you figure this out, you'll have your own assets and your own maps. And if you like what you've seen, please subscribe to my channel. I'm always looking for more. Leave some comments because I love to read them and to answer them. But most importantly, keep playing D&D and tell somebody else about it.